Heyo, welcome to the show. The show. It's just the show. Nope,
It's
we
the
don't have
show
it.
tonight.
Yeah, this is the show. I just called it Jess and Jessica's. It should be Jess and Jessica's movie review. Uh, yeah. So I apologize to anybody watching that. It looks like we have a few viewers, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Let's say hi to everybody. Joey from Down Under. Javier, who's just recently
Right.
started purchasing physical copies of books.
Oh,
Marcelo.
nice.
Oh, Vanessa. Whoops. Rami. Hello. Oh, good. Oh, good heavens. We've got lots of viewers, so we better.
Yeah.
Omnibo, Chris Brogan, Alex. Did I already say Rami? Welcome, Rami. Of course, James Abel. Of course,
Always
because he's always a good fan /
faithful.
viewer. John Anderson, two of my favorite movies.
All
And I
right.
know Earth's Geomancer is way excited for Longlegs. Earth's Geomancer has been commenting on Longlegs like forever since
Amazing.
I said we were going to review it. Okay, good. We have like 20 people, which is fine with me. If I had 20 people in the room here, well, I'd ask them to leave. What if I had 20 people like in a an auditorium, a small, tiny auditorium, like a hall?
Mm,
Then I would talk to them.
like a
I'd ask them.
lecture.
Yeah, exactly. You and I sitting there in the chairs with a table in the middle
Oh, yeah.
with coffee, and we're talking about movies just to this audience out, sitting in the theater setting, sort of.
It'd be pretentious, though. It wouldn't be real coffee. It would be like a mug, but just with water, like with a logo of the place that hosted us. I would wear my finest nerd glasses. Not these ones, but like the really intense, dark black, rectangular ones that make me look very smart. Yeah.
Do you own glasses like that?
Oh, yes. I
And
wear them. They have a little bit of a different lens because they're for my computer. So
what are you drinking out of your coffee mug?
this is tea because I
Oh,
have been outside all day and I'm actually excited for a PM show, but I am somebody who loves to be in my bed at 9 p.m. with a book. So I'm like, I need a cozy tea for this
oh,
spooky past my bedtime chat.
okay. I apologize to anybody tuning in. I keep pulling this muscle in my back. It's like a muscle spasm. And so it just keeps happening and it's so painful. And of course, I don't want to go see the doctor for it.
Oh.
I'm not going to do that. And my upper management finally said, you're making an appointment tomorrow with the doctor and he's
Mm.
going to give you physical therapy instructions and you're going to get this figured out. So yeah, she's sick of my not being proactive. So yeah, I'm doing that. I will do that. I promise.
Yeah, especially if it's lingering like that. At that point,
Yeah,
you gotta get checked out.
it's right. A cycle. You're here. You're a nurse practitioner. You're practically a doctor. What's the muscle like just above your? Does everybody have dimples in their back down near their rear end, or is it just me that has dimples?
I love the direction this stream is going in already. Yeah, I'm familiar with the dimples. I think that's a pretty like natural thing. Yeah.
Okay,
Sure.
good.
Yeah.
That's where it starts. The right
Mm.
dimple, and then it hurts all the way about halfway up.
Oh, wow.
Okay, good. Everybody has a dimple.
It's just like everyone has a belly button. Everyone has.
Okay, I haven't really paid attention to people's. Yeah, wow is right. Thank you. Thank you, William Lee. Good to see you. This is my after dark Sunday night. Gluteus minimus, is that what goes up the back from the dimple? I see. I knew Cycle would know. Gluteus minimus. So I need some exercises that strengthen my gluteus minimus. That's the issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
You are. It's the dimple. You're supposed to. You already figured it out. You're calling it this. Lucas, welcome. No, I am retired.
I do.
Yeah, Jess does. So we're not going to be going till midnight. I can promise you that. She's an early riser. Um, oh no. Are you gambling still, Cycle?
Wow.
Oh, good. Earth's Geomancer is here. One of my favorite newer horror movies. That's Longlegs, right?
Longlegs. Well, I would imagine. Yeah. Yeah.
Just took my Lexapro. Gonna be a wild night. Well,
Cheers.
nice. Good for you. Okay, Vanessa's welcoming us. That's cool. Good to see
Hello.
Vanessa. Did you don't you're not in my Discord, I don't think. Jessica's are you familiar with Jessica yet? She's a brand new comics fan. She's like super goth. She drives a hearse. Like
Oh, nice.
it's a spiffy looking model too. She's got it in cherry condition, but she is committed to the goth bit.
Love
And I'm
it.
not saying bit like comedy bit. It's like she's living like what a goth wants to live, I guess, but her hearse looks really cool.
No, that is rad. Well, I did watch Maddie's Fangirls not live, and I saw Vanessa in the chat and that they're a newer reader, so that's exciting. Yeah, I'm excited.
Oh, good.
Or a newer collector. I can't remember, Vanessa, you can correct me.
Yeah,
One of the two.
she's gone very heavy. She's bought like 10 Omnis and Absolutes and wants everything Batman.
That's how
So
it
that's
goes.
cool.
Yeah.
I have been binging Watchmen series. I love it.
I
Have you seen it?
love. It's my second favorite miniseries of all time. Haunting of Hill House is number one, but
Oh
Watchmen
my
has to
gosh.
be my second favorite, I think.
Those are both in my top 5 easily.
Yeah, they're so good. Like perfect.
Watchmen might be the best thing I've ever seen ever. Like opening my eyes seeing. It was so good.
Yeah.
I will ask you a question about Haunting of Hill House, which has been bugging me.
Oh, okay.
Since it's your favorite, you probably still remember. You probably still. Let me turn this off. Junior management is excited about some football thing, so just a sec.
All right.
Muhammad, I haven't seen either movie. That's cool. We'll warn you when we start spoiling. But I did start reading Mike Carey's Suicide Risk. Good. Oh, you have to put the dots there. Okay. And I'm halfway through. Requiem just got to know about his daughter and him got to this world. It is a great comic series. That's
Nice.
that I suggested it on the Evergreen show on Thursday. And my goal wasn't to. I knew it couldn't win to a spot, but I wanted to turn other readers on to how great it was. It's an amazing book.
All right. Yeah, I'll write it down.
Yeah, it's super duper really good. I don't know all the muscles. What the?
I mean, to be fair, it's like, are you using this every day? No, it's going right out the brain. I get
it. There's my Discord. Jess, what did you do for work? And better Jess, what do you do for work? Okay, well, I guess we know where Lucas stands. Okay.
Flattery will get you everywhere, Lucas.
Yeah, I'll go first since I'm lesser, Jess. I was an individual investor in the stock market for almost 30 years. Yeah, 29 years from 1990 to 2018 is when I stopped. Better, Jess? Do you feel like telling people what you do?
Yeah, that's fine. I work in refugee resettlement. So my role, I like help local agencies better use their community to support like newcomers, tutoring in English or teaching people how to drive, things like that. And I've been in that field it'll be a decade in November, actually,
wow.
Which is really cool. Not in this specific role, but in general. So yeah, I've loved it. I'm looking forward to retirement though as well. I think everyone is, even if you love your job. So only like 40 million more years to go as a millennial till I can retire.
I want to warn you though, retirement is nice for the not working part, but you're 65. I'm 65. You know what? I'd rather be back being 30 and working because I'd be 30.
I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
We have generous. I will say my current position has really generous PTO, and I
Oh,
like notoriously people underutilize it, but I am really trying to like use all my PTO because it's like, yeah, while you're young, go and do these things for sure.
absolutely.
Yeah, because you don't know when your back's gonna give out on you anytime. So
Yeah, exactly right. Jessica, I need a rundown of all the cool new horror flicks.
I do too. Tell me them. I mean, I want to see the Substance one. I
Oh
think we
yeah,
talked about this.
yeah. Psycho's been big on our seeing the substance. I also heard that Oddity would really appeal to me.
Oh,
It's apparently very occult, demonic. Mallory suggested it.
hmm.
Mallory's a friend that's also in Discord, and she said she and I have similar taste in a lot of things, and she said Oddity would be good. Um,
I haven't heard of that one. I want
yeah,
to.
I hadn't heard of it either.
Next month, The Heretic comes out with Hugh Grant, which I think is such interesting casting because Hugh Grant historically plays the same character in every movie. He plays it well. It's very charming.
Yeah,
But it'll be like so cool to see him in like a creepy role and it just looks really interesting. And I'm so confused why they are choosing to release it in November and not October because to be honest, to me there weren't too many like theatrical release scary movies coming out in October that I really wanted to see, which is weird because like that's the time to see them.
okay. I haven't. I don't really. I hadn't put that together. Do they release a lot of scary movies in October, or do they just like pop them out? Like Longlegs was out before October,
Yep.
right? I don't know when Barbarian was released.
I don't even, that's a really good question. What month? Let me see. That was in what, 2020? Let's say, or 2023?
Vanessa, I mainly read and collect omnis,
2022.
mostly
2022.
Batman and Batgirl, some Wonder Woman. Good, 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 good. No, don't say that. That's weird. Oh, Agatha, I need to see that. Agatha
Oh
all
yeah,
along.
it's all out now, right? Or it's about like next week is the last week because that's what I was waiting for.
No, just say I'd rather be lesser Jess than older Jess. I work in finance, currently studying for my Series 6. Good for you, Lucas. That's
That's cool.
awesome. Uh, I'm out the second I hit minimum retirement age. Cynical Stark.
Hmm.
Everyone needs to watch The Substance.
I know, James. There aren't too many. It was like a limited release year, but my indie theater, the one that I was telling you about that I
It looks
saw
so
The Shining
cool.
at, very
Yeah.
cool to see it in theaters for the first time for myself. They are doing a re-release, like they're putting it out again, which I didn't even know it had left theaters here. It was just so limited. It was so odd, but that was so weird because the word of mouth was like, "This movie's fantastic." So it just didn't. I don't know. Theaters are just really weird now because they have to
Yeah.
make a bajillion dollars because they can't sell DVDs, and it's just such a messed up system. So sometimes it's hard to catch stuff, even if you want to see it in the theater.
Well, they did nick me for $6 to see uh, um, Longlegs on Amazon Prime. It was
I
not
was
streaming.
wondering, I thought it was streaming. I didn't rewatch it. I have to be honest with you because I thought it was streaming somewhere. Although I only just saw it, I think, as you said, like, I don't know what, 2 months, less than 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I did watch, it was hilarious because I searched for a recap YouTube video to like refresh my memory. And one of the suggested videos that came up was this stream. And I was like, oh, these people reviewed both movies we're reviewing.
I hadn't even
like,
made this yet. Well, you're
no, it was
kidding.
today. Today I was trying to rewatch like a summary and I was like, oh, these guys are talking about the same thing we are. I'm like, gee, Jessica, please get it together.
Wait. What are you saying now?
When I searched for a recap video for Longlegs this morning to refresh my memory,
Yeah.
I put like Longlegs discussion or whatever, and like the third video was this stream link.
That we're on right now.
Yeah, and so I saw it, and I was like, "Wow, they talked about the same two movies we are," and I was like, "Wow."
I
You're
hadn't
gonna
even.
really have a great stream tonight.
That's
Your like cat brain
hilarious.
is totally gone.
That is
Well,
hilarious. Okay, for anybody that actually searched for this is future viewers. Typically take at least half an hour to get to the topic. So we're going to get there, I promise you. And I'm not going to keep Jessica up long because she life happens. So we are going to get to it. Uh, Jessica from the past, if you're seeing this, you can tune in now because we're about to talk about everything.
Lord, I have to say, Maddie and I did a stream recently. I'm trying to remember what book it was. And we realized as we were getting ready to do it, we had done it like a year prior. Like the two of us had discussed that very book a year prior.
Oh, and you both
It was
forgot?
Batgirl year one. We both forgot. And
Oh.
what was funny is when we picked it, Maddie was like, "Oh, well, I'm so excited I haven't read it." And I was like, "Really? I love it." And then when she went to make the post, she was like, "We did this a year ago." And I was like, cool.
That makes me feel so much better. I do that all the time. Have I read this book? I usually ask like the minister, "Do I own this book?" He's like, "Yes, we bought it 2 years ago." I'm like, what? Oh, okay, I'll look for it. The best horror movie of my lifetime, Nosferatu, comes out on Christmas Day. I'm so excited, and so is Psycho Cleveland.
I'm psyched for Nosferatu as well. Yeah,
Oddity is excellent as is that creator's first movie. Caveat: somebody told me that. Why am I having such a Longlegs? Was from the same guy that did Black Coat's Daughter, which is like one of my all-time favorite scary movies.
Yeah, that was me.
Oh, was it?
Yes. And I was like, I haven't seen it, but I did add it to my list. I just haven't gotten there yet.
This is the memory test portion of the show.
We're winning. We're winning tonight. I would describe this as winning.
Curtis's age jab the other day was uncalled for. It was hilarious. It was yesterday on we took over Very Fine Condition for a couple hours, and I can't remember exactly what Curtis said. Actually, James will know because James remembers everything, but it was a super sharp knife of an age joke, and I just laughed hilariously. Wow. So it was very funny. It was a jab, though, for sure. I've never in my life been so excited for a movie as I am for Nosferatu. It's a complete remake of the 1922 Bram Stoker classic. It will be bigger and better than Dracula.
The trailer does look really good.
I haven't seen it. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Not a new movie, but I've had
my gosh.
Ginger Snaps.
Chris.
Have you seen it?
Yes. It is a cult classic that I sadly did not like at all. There's something about it that grinded on my nerves. I don't have a better way of describing it, but all my friends love it. It is definitely like a cult classic for sure. Especially I feel like amongst women. Like I feel like it's for some reason a real big hit with them.
What Ginger Snaps, does it have to do with redheaded people? Women?
No, it has to do. Well, actually, it's kind of a spoiler if I tell you what it has to do with, which is like revealed later. So watch it. Yeah.
I was just thinking that, redheads are called gingers. So that's what I thought. Now I have a craving for Ginger Snaps, the cookies.
So good.
Chris is a huge fan. OmniDog, not a horror movie fan, but my favorite horror thing is the first 2 BioShock video games. I played that first one and it was awesome. By the way, Jess, are you as excited as I am for the hard traveling Heroes Omni? The Chris. Okay, wait. I'm happy they didn't title it Green Lantern Bronze Age Omni because many people just don't give those books a chance based off that title alone.
That's a good point.
Yeah. I think I am. Denny O'Neil generally wrote all those stories, so and it's going to be like huge, 900 pages or more. I am pretty excited for it because I actually fell off it about halfway through. It was backup stories for the Flash. I got really offended. I'm like, they're putting Green Lantern in backup stories in the Flash. This is an insult to me as a 14-year-old. I was like, how dare you put Green Lantern as backup stories? This book needs its own comic. And so I was insulted and stopped reading it. So a lot of it's going to be new to me.
Mm.
Lesser Jess. I don't like where this is headed. Going to try risk later on seems like something I'd enjoy. Do you and Bunk still do the crime show? That's something I'd love to watch, but was too busy when you guys started it. We're taking a small break on that, and we'll pick it back up maybe sometime next year. But I have a problem over promising and under delivering, so I put too much on my plate. Like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna review this, and then I get paralyzed and
Quite
can't
literally.
do anything. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I don't do anything. So I've
Yeah.
had to start chopping at various things so I can at least. I haven't done a recorded video all month, and I need to. I need to keep my channel alive. I can't just keep doing live streams. I need to do some recorded videos, and I need to start doing a lot of them. And I have ideas, but I've been paralyzed. So it'll come back, Lucas. Eventually, it will. Am I all my horror physically on DVD or Blu-ray? The only way to go for me. No, we are not going 4 hours. How dare you think that? I'm not going to do that to Jessica. The lead actress, and boy, she is great in this. She was in It Follows. I watched that and loved it. I don't know why.
She's the main girl. Watcher is really good. I think it was originally released, someone could correct me, for Shudder, like the streaming service. It's kind of like a modern day play on Rear Window. And so she moves into this apartment. I think if it's been like, I haven't seen it since it came out, but I really liked it. I believe they're in a foreign country. Like, she's an American that lives in a foreign country. And so that's adding to her not, knowing for sure, or people maybe not believing her. But it was really, I've seen a lot of like plays off of Rear Window or like remakes, and it was by far and away the best, which was wild because I'm fairly certain it was made for streaming, or at least it was an indie release that was very small and got picked up first by Shudder. I don't think it was a theatrical release, not here in the US anyways, not widely. It was really good if you can find it.
Okay. One thing that I like about horror movies is this is a generalization, but excuse me, unless it's a Mike Flanagan one, because I've seen so many of his, I recognize the actors and actresses, but I generally don't know who the actors are in it. Like I don't know Micah Monroe. Even though I saw It Follows, I don't remember her from that. But so it helps me.
Really different in both movies, so that's fair. Yeah.
Okay. I did love It Follows, but it helps me believe in the movie more. Except for Blair Underwood, who was in LA Law 30 years ago and looks just the same. He's the one that made the deal with the devil. I mean, he hasn't aged a day. He looks awesome. But
some people got it like that. Genetics. Bianca Lawson also has not aged at all. I don't know if you're familiar with her. I feel like
who is she?
If you're a millennial, you've aged with Bianca Lawson. She's played a teenager for like the last 30 years. I'm not joking. These are movies I don't think would have been your jam necessarily. Like the first time I ever saw her, she was in Save the Last Dance and plays like an antagonistic character, a teenager. And then like, I'd say 20 years later, maybe 15 years later, she was on Pretty Little Liars, also playing a teenage character. And I'm like, it's passable. She does not age. I think now she's playing roles her own age.
Bianca Lawson. Okay, just a sec.
Yeah.
Siri, show me a picture of Bianca Lawson, please.
Here are some images of Bianca Lawson from the web.
Do you recognize her?
No, but you're right. Okay, thank you, Siri. You can stop listening to me. She looked exactly the same in all the pictures. She doesn't age.
Yeah. I believe she's older than me. But yeah, I'm like, I don't know what she like sold to the devil, but she looks great. Good for her. Honestly, good for her.
Curtis said, I won't make it to see the Batman comic you won't imprint. Yeah, I want the Batman Bronze Age Omni that starts in 1970. I want the 1970 to 1974 for Batman. That's the sweet spot of Batman and Superman for me in that very beginning of the Bronze Age. They really changed the characters around. And Curtis just jabbed me by saying I wouldn't make it because it's
Lord.
going to be like 15 years from now before it comes out.
You
So
never know. They say like people who have a will to live longer, and that's your thing.
that's my goal.
Just
Okay, good.
yeah, keep like a picture of in like what the cover would be in your wallet, and just look at it every day. Just motivate yourself, will yourself to be Bianca Lawson, never aging.
She's my spirit animal now.
That's right.
I rewatched Bedknobs and Broomsticks yesterday. It's an absolute masterpiece. I saw that movie 700 times with my daughter on videotape. You are right. It is amazing. It is really amazing. Wait, let's see. Horror movies I have downloaded waiting to watch. Blink Twice. I saw the TV Glow. Ooh, Lou keeps talking about Late Night with the Devil. That's like his favorite movie of the year. Strange Darling, Picnic at Hanging Rock, The House of the Devil.
Strange Darling is really high on my list. Has it come out in the theaters yet? I don't know.
I know that I need to see Late Night with the Devil. What were the other two movies we were thinking of jamming in here? Dr. Sleep.
Yeah.
Was it Dr. Sleep and something else?
Yeah, there was one other than the Late Night with the Devil. I don't have my phone on me.
I do. Let's see. I'll scroll back. Lugosi, you're confused. I don't blame you. I'm a weird texter.
When we were trying to figure out what to do.
I want to see I do need to see The Witch, and I still need to see The Changeling.
And I did wind up watching The Witch.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I'm curious how you'll feel about it. Yeah. That one I'm eager to hear what you have to think about it.
Oh yeah. Oh, we talked with this. We had a good discussion. Okay, wait. Barbarian Longlegs.
We're known to do that from time to time when we're not talking about minimus max. What is it?
Gluteus minimus
or dimples. We have quality.
Rear back dimples. I wasn't sure that everybody had a back dimple. I didn't know. The Devil's Backbone.
That's right. Yeah.
I have seen that, but it was years ago. I would see that again.
Yeah, we'll have to do those two next.
Yeah. House of the Devil is an amazing slow burn, highly recommended. The Witch was great. Black Phillip Rules. I don't know that one.
It's related to The Witch.
Oh, it is. Okay. Interested. Oh, hey, NFL dude. I'm interested in a folklore involved horror movie called Starve Acre that Kelly Jones recommended on a pod.
Starve Acre. I don't know, but you know what my favorite folklore one is? The Wicker Man, the original. Oh my God, that movie is so good. It goes so hard. Love.
Oh, okay.
So good.
Vanessa, I'm obsessed with horror if it's not obvious, especially if it involves vampires, ghosts, or undead. Yes, I like not obvious horror. Demonic possession. Yeah, that's what I love. Are fun too. I get overly excited for movies with vampires, but this is what I love. Ghosts and demons. It's the unseen stuff that scares me. And I'm sure Harvey's heard this story, and I may have told it to you already, Jessica. I'm sure I did. But the movie that creeped me out the most was Paranormal Activity.
Oh, you haven't told me this.
Oh, I haven't? Okay. It was when we lived in the old house. We still had our first dog, Archie. So it's probably around just after it came out. So mid 2000s sometime, I would guess, whenever it came out. It was in the afternoon, bright day. I watched Paranormal Activity. My wife was working in Baltimore every day at the time, 9 to 5, which was an hour drive away. That movie freaked me out so badly. I called her at the office and I said, "This is an emergency. You need to come home now. I cannot be alone in this house. I'm taking the dog out for a walk and you better be in the house by the time we get back."
Wow.
So she talked me down and she eventually came home with the normal time. But that's the kind of thing that freaks me out. All the unseen stuff that happens in that movie. Ouija boards really freak me out, and
Mhm.
that there's one in that movie. And
Yeah.
that's what I loved about that movie and why it stuck with me, because it's all unseen stuff. I don't like I don't necessarily I mean uh these two movies that we saw
Mm.
blood wise, they I don't okay, I just saw I mean just 40 minutes ago I just finished with Longlegs, and it wasn't too bad blood wise.
Yeah.
Um and Barbarian, let me think. There was that bloody handprint. That's what freaked me out. Barbarian was gross and weird for a different reason, but I don't remember there being a lot of blood.
No, there's not.
Yeah.
Not there's a little bit at the end, but
Right, right.
yeah, we're opposites in that way because I do like a good ghost story. Vampire stuff doesn't really freak me out, like to watch on screen or anything like that. But we're opposite in that I agree it's creepier because you don't know how much of it is real, like that's like paranormal stuff.
Yeah.
And so for me, I have to have like a really great or interesting story that goes with it. Otherwise, it's not worth me losing sleep, which I do. Like I'm like sleeping with a closet light on. The
Right.
very first time I watched Haunting of Hill House, because the ghosts are in the shadows constantly, I had to sleep with like a little light on in the hallway, like I'm a child again, because I was just nervous that there would be ghosts in the shadows. So I'm more like I watch a lot more slashers and like more campy like 80s slashers. This is like more my speed because I already know like these people exist. Do you know what I mean? Like I know
Yeah.
that that's true and I've been living in the world my whole life. So I don't lose sleep over it. But yeah, we'll get into these, and there are exceptions here and there where I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that was okay, I like that.
Are you comfortable telling your origin story?
Oh yeah, it's
Your
nothing
horror
like
origin
dramatic.
story?
my I was telling Jess when we found it out that we both liked horror movies, because I don't think I knew that I knew you liked films, and like we talked about classic films before, the two of
Yeah.
us. But my parents are both ministers and quite conservative as humans, but my dad like grew up watching like the Twilight Zone and other stuff like that on TV, and he's always like had horror as a bit of a vice, nothing like crazy, but you know, for the time. And my mom really was strict. Like, for example, I wasn't allowed to read or watch Harry Potter as a kid. You know, like I was pretty censored about certain things. But anyways, my dad, once they started playing Halloween, which is one of his favorite movies and one of mine on TV, of all time, they started playing it on TV, sorry, and it like edited out, you know, some of the language and some of the nudity or whatever. So he was like, oh, she can watch this. So my dad like let me sneak watch Halloween when I was a kid, and it like implanted in my brain. I think that's why I love slashers so much. So it's something we still bond about. My mom's become a bit more lenient. Like we watched The Walking Dead together, my dad
How
and
old
I.
were you?
Oh, I was like in elementary school. It was
So you were
probably not
like 8.
appropriate. Yeah.
And your mom, what was her reaction finding out about your dad
Oh,
letting
she
you
was
watch?
pretty mad. She was like, Steven,
Yeah,
what do you
don't
have on the TV?
leave
Yeah.
out those 2 details, because that's great.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
minister father let you watch Halloween when you were 8,
It
and
was
your
the
mom got
TV
pissed.
version.
Well, still,
It was tame, you know.
I love that. So great. Um, so
So
yeah,
these movies, I had seen them both before. But you had not seen either of them, right?
Barbarian and Longlegs.
Yeah.
No, speaking of ministers, the minister of comics, who is a minister,
Mhm.
recommended Barbarian to me 2 years ago and said, "Go in completely blind. Um, don't find out anything about it." And so
Mhm.
for 2 years, I have avoided anything Barbarian related. It helps
Mhm.
that I'm not really on social media much except for this. Um,
Yeah.
and dog videos my daughter sends me from Twitter and stuff like that. That's it, or
Mm.
Instagram. Um, so I went into Barbarian. I had no idea what was going to happen. I didn't even know what it was about. No plot, nothing. I knew nothing. Um, I saw that Friday, and that movie messed me up. Messed me up. I
Mhm.
I was a fragile thing for the rest of the day.
Bless.
Uh,
Walk
huh?
walk me through. I want to say about both these movies briefly, but then I want to hear about your journey emotionally because the movie takes several turns. But I want to point out something you said. I know you had been able to avoid all spoilers throughout the years, but honestly, with both of these movies, to their credit, the marketing was great for both of them, in my opinion, because they showed so little in the trailer. And in the case of Barbarian, they only showed scenes really from the first third of the movie. And the
Oh,
movie is so segmented. And so you really thought it was this one thing. And I suppose we'll get into spoilers, I think, probably to warn people in a second, but you thought it was only relating to the events that were the setup of the movie, which is like you go to an Airbnb, it's already been booked. Do you stay? Do you not stay? Is this guy creepy? Is he not creepy? And
mhm.
that guy happens to be Bill Skarsgård. Great casting, by the way. And so you knew that in the trailer. And people who know him as Pennywise, you automatically don't trust him. So
Oh,
in the
he's
trailer,
Pennywise? I didn't know he was that Skarsgård that was
oh,
Pennywise.
this movie has such great casting because the other guy, which we'll talk about later, AJ, also is played by a character or an actor, Justin Long, who's very trustworthy.
Oh,
And so there's a lot of like things they did with the casting. But this both movies, I want to say, like they just show way too much in the trailer these days. And both of these movies did a fantastic job of giving you just enough so you were interested. In the case of Barbarian, really relied on word of mouth and really relied on those twists and people being like, you have to see it, don't look up anything about it. That gets people interested when you say
yeah.
that. So I did think that was, yeah, brilliant. But I'm curious for you, like the journey you took as the movie made several turns.
Um, so it was, since I didn't know anything that was going to happen, it was kind of I would say it was a slow burn
Mhm.
for me, but I knew something was going to happen. I didn't know what was going to happen. But of course, I immediately distrusted the guy that was staying there. Bill
Keith.
Okay,
Mhm.
Keith, right. Um, and I didn't trust him. And actually, I was going to ask you. Well, that would get into spoilers. Um, so I didn't trust him. Um, then I started to trust him,
Mhm.
and then of course I really trusted him, but it was too late
Mhm.
for me to trust him anymore. Um, that actress did a remarkably good job.
Yeah,
I-
Georgiana Campbell. Yeah.
has she been in other things that you've seen?
She's been in several other things I've seen, and she was actually recently, it wasn't the best movie to be honest, but she was in a movie directed by M. Night Shyamalan's daughter. I can't remember her first name. Someone in the chat might know. I think the movie was called The Watchers. I did go see it in theaters. It was kind of a
Mm.
mixed bag. I did appreciate some of what it was trying to go for, but that's the most recent thing I think she's been in. But I believe this was her first horror movie.
Oh, Bill Skarsgård is going to be in Nosferatu.
Yeah. I mean, he just has a face that was made for horror.
He does have sort of, he's got a lot of bags under his eyes, and his eyes are a little poppy.
Hmm.
Yeah, he is a little bit creepy looking. Gary says Barbarian reminds me in its structure, starting as one thing, then becoming something else, to Martyrs, not for the faint of heart. Okay, I'm out. But my pick of best horror film of this century,
Wow.
I am fairly faint of heart, so I probably shouldn't see that. I might look up what it's about. What did you want to know? Like my journey? Okay, so I trusted. This is the non-spoiler setup.
I was gonna
Uh,
say, we could probably give a warning for spoilers and get
yeah, I
into
actually have a banner that says spoilers.
oh perfect. Yeah, let's
Okay, we're gonna be spoiling from now on.
yes, perfect. And we can say for Barbarian, I mean it's not 100%, but I'd say there are three like segments that really center around three different men. There's Keith, like you were saying, the guy who's already at the Airbnb when this girl books it. We should say the movie takes place in Detroit, which I think was important actually to the story and like
Very.
We can talk about that. The second segment, really abruptly, is AJ, who's like an actor who has been accused of, I don't know what will get
I
demonetized.
think
So
you can just say SA. Yeah.
yeah. And later it becomes very obvious that that was a correct accusation by his own admission. And he's played by Justin Long, who historically is like the gregarious, fun, best friend comedy guy. So again, like really great casting to turn things on its head. And then the third guy in a flashback is Frank, who is living in Detroit during what I have come to know about Detroit as like the White Flight, which is like the fall of some of the motor industrial things that really powered it economically. And then people moving after the 60s, a lot of Black people from the South to avoid discrimination, moving north and moving into Detroit. And that caused like white people to panic in the suburbs and leave. And so in the US, we would say that's white flight. And so he decides to stay and is not a great guy, to say the very least. So those are the three like sections if we want to chat about our feelings about them and kind of what they mean.
But then there was just complete flight. Like everybody.
Yes.
left.
Oh, very true. Yes.
Yeah. Because of the downturn, this is something I lived through, seeing Cleveland and Pittsburgh and Detroit, all those industrial cities lose jobs. And I remember it well during the 70s. But yeah, Detroit has a lot of neighborhoods like that. Have you seen, I feel like this movie was Don't Breathe times 20. Have you seen Don't Breathe?
I have seen Don't Breathe. I think it's a great movie. It is really messed up, but I think Don't Breathe has less quality social commentary. Like it only used its setting, in my opinion, to like isolate the situation. We won't spoil that for anyone, obviously. But in this one, I think the setting was also part of some of the themes that they were talking about. So I did appreciate that. But Don't Breathe is great and terrifying, horrifying, I would say. It's a good word for it.
It was so terrifying. For some reason, I watched it on my laptop and I was shaking. Literally, my hands were shaking because the tension was so ratcheted up that I was and I the ending was perfect for me. And I don't need to see Don't Breathe 2 or whatever. But I was just shaking from that. Okay, so we cut to the. I thought it was an anthology at first when we cut to the Pacific Ocean,
AJ,
and we see Justin Long coming down, singing to a song, and then he gets word of his accusations. And then I figured out, what the tie-in was, that he owned properties in Detroit. So, it was funny that I didn't. The trust issue kind of gets flipped. Like I didn't trust Bill Skarsgård at first, and then it turned out he was trustworthy, and I trusted. Is it AJ? Justin Long? I trusted him, and then it turned out he is like a super scumbag. And then I thought the funniest part was when he was so oblivious that he found, there's hidden. Yeah, I know. I love Cleveland. I'm just saying that they lost a lot of jobs, and Cleveland's done a great job coming back. I've been to Cleveland 100 times.
And Detroit has put a ton of money and resources into coming back as well, and definitely are rebuilding.
Yeah.
None of this is the fault of the cities. It's the fault of like the way industries change, and we're not always responsive economically to supporting, people who live there and supporting industry changes to make sure people can keep their jobs. The cities are great themselves, though.
I thought I want to get back just to the Detroit thing, because she arrives at the B&B at night. And when she comes out, what she sees, she checks into the only decent house on the block, and when she opens the door to go for her interview, it is super bad everywhere. Every single house on the block has been torched and graffitied and people have just people have left. I think that, it's weird how that the Airbnb had so many. The Justin Long owned it, but whoever he was talking to on the phone when he got there said that nobody was there. But it had been rented as an Airbnb through somebody else, and
So
the original owner was still there, very deep underground. The original owner was still there. So I wonder if that is what happened in Detroit. Like, people just left their homes and said, we have to pack up and go. I can't sell this house. They just take a loss and they move.
Yeah, and we should say that Frank, the really flashback character that we'll talk about later, he was the original owner of the house. So Keith is like renting the Airbnb. AJ owns the property, the Airbnb property that's being rented. But then Frank owned that home at one point and built a tunnel system through that you get to through the basement. And he's been living there. We'll talk about, maybe not alone. But the Airbnb thing tripped me up the very first time, because you're right. Justin Long's character calls and he's like, why is this? There's people's stuff here. You said no one was renting this. And basically she explained that they only come and clean when somebody rents it. And that time has passed by the time he gets to that Airbnb from when we watched the first segment. And so they're between when Tess and him had rented it, which the double booking thing, I never fully understood. But between then, no one else had booked it, because who's going to do that? It's in the middle of like a very like dicey area. And that's why all their stuff was still there, because no one came to clean, because they don't clean until a new like person who's going to be there is there. So that's that. I didn't understand that the first time, but the second time I watched it, I got it a lot more.
Okay, good. Thank you for explaining that to me. And there was a convention in town, so she really had nowhere else to go. And so the trust thing was having to trust Bill Skarsgård in the first place. Had the roles been reversed, a woman was renting it and Bill Skarsgård shows up saying, I've got the same rental, I am quite sure that woman would have locked the door, put a chair under the knob and said, go call the police or go stay at a gas station or something. You are not coming in.
Yeah, and they do talk about that. It's interesting because Keith, I do think overall he's like, obviously compared to these other two men, he's a good guy. But I thought it was really interesting because he does do a few things that are a bit of a turnoff. Like, he really doubts her constantly throughout the film. She's basically like, don't do that. And he's like foolhardy going to do this thing. And with the convention, she was trying to look up hotels. She only got to look up one. He's like, don't bother looking up, the rest of them, because there's a convention in town, which we never really actually know. I don't think he was lying to her, but we don't know. And then with the bags, he won't let her get her own bags. But he's trying to win her trust. He doesn't open a bottle of wine because, he might have put something in it. So he's like, I didn't open it. I'll wait for you to open it. So he's not a bad guy, but he still has this very like kind of idea of how to present himself as like the good guy, which in doing so kind of is a little bit chauvinistic at times, like reverse in a way, like he goes too far. And so because he's so intense, like I have Midwest manners or whatever, you kind of doubt him more because it's like he's going out of his way to be nicey nice. And so you're like even more skeptical. There's so much going on. And they do outright talk about like, oh, if the roles had been reversed, they get on super well. And you can tell that his character, he's pretty interested in her. And I think she kind of was getting interested in him, but she has this complicated relationship back home that they allude to a few times. So it is very interesting. The casting, the way they play that whole sequence, very interesting.
And shoot, what was I going to say? I thought she was smart to take a picture of his driver's license, but I thought she was going to like Google search it to see if it revealed anything. But I thought she was smart to take his picture from the wallet that he left. So I'm not, first of all, I know that anybody tuning in I'm sorry, I don't. Movies kind of wash over me, and I just watch them. I don't go into like the leitmotif of the third act denouement type thing. I'm just like, this movie was good because of this, this, and this. If you want a breakdown of something, maybe Jess, better Jess has it, and lesser Jess doesn't. But so many things happen in this movie that in Barbarian that there is, had it been a real world reaction, we just wouldn't have had a movie. Who's going to pull on that rope and see the door open and not just get out of there and drive home or something? Who's going to, that first room? This is what I wanted to say about how great Justin Long was in it. He doesn't, he's looking for subterranean footage to add because he wants to sell the house.
But that's the thing, is you can see the difference. He's all about like making money in this area that has been ravaged and impoverished. He's like, how can I get the most bang for my buck? And that's to his downfall. Whereas Tess, she sees that room and she didn't even have to go back in the cave to think that's freaky. The room alone freaks her out. She's like, yeah, nothing good happened here. And their brains are doing totally different things, which is so
he didn't even notice it. He just measured it and added it to his square footage. I thought, this guy is such a jerk.
Gleefully. He's so, and that tape measure scene is so good. There's so much like fun. The thing about this movie is it has really dark stuff, which we'll talk about in a second, but it actually is pretty funny at times. Like his character provided a lot of camp. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like almost unbelievably laughable how like kind of morally bankrupt this man is, and how in your face he will rewrite the narrative. There are several sections in this movie where he'll tell a story and then like twist it so that he's the good guy, or he throws someone off a building basically at one point and then rewrites that narrative to her face. And it's like, people like that exist. And it is like, it's wild when people do it too in real life, but to see it on screen, it feels campy if you didn't have it happen to you, in which case you're like, yep, that does happen. People out there are like that.
You're right. He came down right away and tried to explain himself.
He did. And even his friend, when he's talking about the essay situation, he's like, well, his friend's asking him questions. Did she say no, et cetera, et cetera. And he just says the thing right out loud and somehow twists it. And his friend even is like, that doesn't sound quite right. But he was the main character of that movie in his head. You know, he had main character energy, as the youth say.
The youth. So there's so many red flags in this movie, but I think that's you know, a kind of a horror theme with the red flags, where people in movie theaters stand up and go, don't go in there. Are you stupid? Don't go in. He's going in there. So that's, I mean, otherwise we don't have a movie.
Absolutely.
You know, if you do the rational thing, there's no movie. So it's always the irrational. It's always the irrational curiosity kind of thing that always gets people. Let's see. Derek, welcome. I love Justin Long in this. He's such an asshat. He really is. Yeah, he really is. Vanessa, I don't think there are any horror movies I haven't seen. My favorite ones are good vampire films and movies that have a strong focus, on the occult, witchcraft, ghost, spirits. Totally agree with you, Vanessa. That's what I love the most. Chanisic, not a fan of Barbarian. The audience is cracking up anytime Nick Cage said anything. The delivery was something, that's for sure. Well, I saw it. We're not on Longlegs yet, but we're on Barbarian. So where are we now in this?
Oh yeah, so the last guy is Frank, and I'm curious, like, go ahead, sorry.
That's what messed me up for the entire movie.
I'm sure, it's the darkest. But what did you think, like, when they went to the flashback of that guy? Because that's was it the 80s or 60s?
I don't think it was the 60s. I think it was
70s, because they
probably
had
the late 70s. I would guess.
they had that beta tape thing. I don't know what it's called, but before the VHS, the really wide one, that was before my time.
Oh, no, I think he bought I think they were it was a VCR.
Oh, it was, but the
Yeah, I
box
think
maybe was big. Okay.
yeah, I think what he had was a selection of his VHS tapes.
Yeah, he did in his little his room. I was thinking of when he went, because we basically panned to this guy who's going grocery shopping for
Right.
a lot of supplies, and
Right.
oddly a tape about being a mother,
Oh
a
yeah.
mothering tape.
Yeah, I
And
think that was a
that it
VHS
was
tape.
okay,
I think
okay,
so, yeah.
okay.
That was
Um
super creepy, yeah.
yeah, so like what were you thinking when we panned to that guy? Did you have any like suspicions as to where, because that comes after the AJ Long one. So this is the third time we take a big pivot in the movie.
Yeah, the way he silent I knew something was wrong as soon as he wanted, diapers and,
Mm,
was it a tarp or something?
yeah, I
Yeah,
think so.
then I knew something was wrong. Uh, I I didn't I didn't guess what was gonna happen to the extent that it happened.
Mhm.
That's what shocked and
Yeah.
horrified me. Um, and that's really what messed me up was, I mean, it even messed Justin Long up when he saw the stuff and he goes, "What is wrong with you?" Um,
That scene is so good though. Because Justin Long, we just discussed, isn't is doing similar things. It's just maybe not to what he thinks as the same extent. But the fundamental thing that they're both, the essay,
yeah,
that's the same for both of them. And Justin Long immediately distances himself from it, which I get. I would do this, obviously, like I would never be in Justin Long's position, but I get where you would see that's different. But it's like he doesn't even notice. He never even makes the connection. He's like, that's so sick, et cetera, et cetera. It's such a good scene. I thought that
yeah,
scene was so interesting.
yeah. Um, and as far as I I will say in both movies, especially in Barbarian, I will say the music was amazing. The way they use music to set up tension and to scare you
Hmm.
is really remarkable.
Yeah.
Um, those I would say the way the music creates tension. I don't know how. I I don't think movies would be scary without that music.
Mm.
I think
Sure. Yeah.
it's an important element because it's always the high tension music, and then it's
Hmm.
the boom and
Hmm.
boom, and and then all of a sudden you see the dude staring you in the face, and then the
Hmm.
whatever the instruments are. So that really adds.
Hmm.
Th- that's a huge part of it. So I that is what seeing Justin Long for what his character was, and then
Hmm.
seeing what that guy had been up to, uh, and how trusting that woman was at the first house where he just let him in and he
Yeah.
flipped the window open. And I thought, oh, I don't like where this is headed. And then it made as soon as you saw that room with the handprint, the bloody handprint, you knew that this was really not good. I um I was less terrified of the creature than I was of was it Frank?
Frank. Yeah.
I found him to be the real monster.
Yeah. I
He,
mean,
he
he's the barbarian. I mean,
yeah,
absolutely.
he
Yeah.
scared me more than the creature.
Yeah. Her in the credits, they call, because obviously, so basically, if you haven't seen the movie, the woman that well, I don't know if it's only her, but he breaks into the house of this woman. He doesn't break into it. He's dressed as a meter man. I can't remember.
I think with the
Um,
water, it was
yeah.
with the water.
And he comes in, he unlatches a window. We are to assume he takes her because we see her dress, the dress she was wearing in that scene later. And then it's explained to us through another guy who is another man in this movie that doesn't get as much talk, which is this man who is experiencing homelessness. He lives in this neighborhood, and he knows through rumors, or maybe he's seen something. He's like, he knows what that guy has down there. And so you come to assume he kind of knows about Frank, or what Frank's been up to. And he also knows Frank has been not only capturing these women, but then procreating with their kids, like, and it's really messed up. And so he knows about it, like being in the neighborhood, and he knows they call the character in the credits, the mother is the one that we know, because there's only one that's down there at the time. And so he knows that she can't be out during the day, because basically she lives in a tunnel or in the house. And when you watch the movie again, you know that, like, in that first section with Bill Skarsgård, like a door will be open, one she had closed, and Bill's napping. And so we make the assumption that the mother has come upstairs, but like they're sleeping. And so she doesn't want to bother them, and she leaves, which she has, the only thing she can know is Frank, this abuser, and this video about how to be a mother that he had gotten. And so that's like the role she takes on, is like the mother, the protector. And so when she captures them, unless they're being violent, especially towards women, like Keith was screaming at Tess, which she misinterpreted as he's going to harm her. So she's going to protect Tess.
Oh, right.
Then she babies them. Like they're like her babies. So they call the character in the credits the mother. Yeah.
Shoot. And the guy that at first we see the guy, the homeless guy.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like he's an insane guy out to hurt Tess,
because he's kind of like rambling and kind of
like, little girl, don't go in that house, don't go in that house. And it turns out he's actually a good guy trying to protect her.
Yeah.
And we don't, so that gets flipped.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like an apocalyptic scene almost, where he lives at the water tower or wherever it is, and he's got a campfire going there, and he lives there, and he says he's safe. We're out of her zone. She's never been here. We're safe. And of course, it turns out he's not safe. But it's almost like a post-apocalyptic video game. Like we're in a safe zone. She can't come here, and he's got a fire going, and he's trying to protect her. And he does, after, I think it's after Justin Long accidentally shoots her.
He is such a terrible guy in this movie.
Oh, he really is.
My gosh. Yeah, he accidentally shoots her in the tunnels. I mean, and to be fair to him, like, he couldn't see anything. It's like pitch black. He thinks she's left. But the thing about Tess, you talk about people who make poor choices. She knew to run. Her instincts were almost always correct. But these men got trapped down there, and she felt bad. And she did try to get professional help. For example, she called the police.
And they didn't believe her.
They didn't believe her. And also they're like, we don't police out here because we got other crimes in the city, and like nobody lives out here. You shouldn't even be out here. So they're not going to mind anything about that. And so she feels a responsibility, like societally, to these men, and now is like getting trapped. So she goes back down there, even though she could have escaped, honestly. And then it's so dark that he doesn't see. And so he haphazardly shoots, and she gets, I think it's like her side kind of.
Somewhere in her side, not right in her stomach, but in her side.
It's so frustrating.
After they're trapped in this pit, I mean, with the cage over it, my mind started, after you see the cages, and then you see the pit, and then you see that weird room. My mind was like, oh, who thought of all this? I don't know if that's a good person or not. Frank. Even if you're super imaginative and you do horror movies, why did you think of this? And why am I watching this?
But it happens in real life. This kind of thing has 1000% happened, and we know it has.
Which is what messed me up.
Yeah,
that's what messed me up more than the monster, more than anything else. That's what messed me up so bad. I mean, I was a changed person upstairs, and Patty said, why do you do this to yourself? And I said, I don't know, but I will tell you one thing. This movie did its job. It's super disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
that's why we watch it. Why do I
Mhm.
want to be disturbed? I don't know.
I
But
do think it has, like, kind of a good ending, though, I won't lie, like, it's sad, but there's something for me, at least anyways, there was something, I don't know if it's vindicating or, like, when it was so clear that Frank was the barbarian and not the mother, because you see her early in the film, we didn't say that, but,
yeah,
like, you see her at the end of the first act with Keith, and you're like, "That's a horrifying sight." But the more you learn, this thing your brain does where you're like, "This poor woman." Do you know what I mean? And then it's like Frank gets, I mean, sort of his own comeuppance. Um, there's something vindicating about that to me because, you know, you see him and you're right, that woman is so trusting. One thing I was thinking about, is like my mom and I, we've talked a little bit about like, you know, when you're safety. And it is true that a lot of women, like it's when you go like walk to the parking lot or whatever, the hyper vigilance you have is
mhm,
sometimes different. The when I'm talking to my guy friends, they don't really see the world necessarily in the same way.
yeah,
And I was thinking about that scene, and you mentioned you used the word trusting, and it's so true because he's like the meter man or the water man or whatever. But even work people, when they come in my house, I'm always like conscientious. Where am I? Am I by the exit? And that's me in 2024, not me in the late 70s, right? And it's so
right,
interesting because that stuff was still going on in the late 70s, but we didn't have like the internet or people weren't believed, right? Now we have more information and we act differently. It doesn't mean you always make the right assumptions. Like with Keith, I think he was a good guy. He wasn't out to get her. But you don't blame Tess, right, for being kind of hyper vigilant. And you wish that this woman would have been, but it's a time where she would have thought to be so trusting, right? It's just
yeah,
really interesting the way this plays with trust and the dynamics over time, I think is really interesting.
and yeah, the trust issue. Shoot, why am I? You're making so many good points, and then I think of something, and then I'll go back. But oh, the very end. This is what
Mm.
I always like when the strong female protagonist survives and can walk away. I mean, that's the last thing we see.
I mean, she was like shot and thrown off a building.
Yeah, thrown up. Yeah, she's
This
pretty much
man,
she's pretty much Batman at that point. Like shot, thrown off.
mhm.
She gets up and I guess she's going to go to that gas station for the phone to get an ambulance for herself. I kind of it's too much to ask for. I wished that Frank had been arrested, but I think that
Yeah.
he was so far gone anyway. I think at that point it would not have made much of a difference. I'm sure what helped was I'm sure they eventually came down. I'm talking about this like it happened. I'm sure they eventually came down, discovered everything, and that solved a lot of cold cases in Detroit.
For
That
real.
yeah, I mean, as far as I know, this could have been based on true events. I don't know, but that's that's when I started to get really wigged out when the trusting woman lets him in her house, and I just knew
Mhm.
back in the 70s. I can see that. Now my parents were different. They did not.
Mm.
I remember when I was like 12, so that would have been the early 70s, and some dude was walking along the side of the road and just knocked on our door and wanted water for his canteen.
Mm.
And I said, "Okay, yeah, come on in and I'll fill it up, or you can fill it
Mm.
up right there." And my parents were like, after he left, they were like, "You never ever let
Mm.
somebody in. You could have just taken his canteen for him and filled it yourself,
Mm.
but do not ever let a stranger in." And I'm like, "Okay,
But
okay,
you grew up in California, right?
yeah,
And my mom grew up in Ohio, like, in the country. So I think it's also I can imagine that, like, the world in California in the '70s, based on all the true crime podcasts I listened to, sounded like it had a couple of guys to watch out for.
a lot of guys to
Yeah,
watch out for." I
whereas,
grew
like,
up
in
just eating.
Ohio, different vibe. Not
I grew up.
justifiably. There are weirdos out there too, but
Yeah, I grew up late 60s, early 70s, just like Zodiac Killer, the
yeah,
Manson family, uh the Hillside Strangler in
for real.
LA. Freeway Killer. I don't know. It was like all the time.
Yeah.
Patty Hearst
Yeah.
was kidnapped. So, yeah, it was odd.
Yeah, I know. The chat, the all caps. I know. I'm saying there are definitely weirdos in the Midwest. Absolutely. In fact, like that's the place you can easily get away with a lot of things because everything is in the middle of nowhere. It's the Jeffrey Dahmer is from Ohio comment.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, they're like, yes, absolutely. But back in the day, like that wasn't something where people were getting caught right as frequently or weren't as known. Whereas I feel like in California, that era, probably that kind of thing was always on the news. Whereas like in Ohio, definitely not. So I think that probably has something to do with the trust as well, like where you're located.
this is a leap. You're taking a leap that is not warranted. Don't do that. You know better than that. Hello to Axel. Welcome. I don't know what this is.
I don't know what that is either. I know people have like van life vlogs, but I didn't know there were scary versions of that.
I know the Saturday Night Live van by the river thing with Chris Farley, but that's all I know.
I'll have to look them up.
Let's see if I missed anything. Back, Cato. Good. You guys are still going. Finally got the voice of bed. I love Barbarian. Great movie. Good to have you here, Back, Cato. Barbarian Cato. Okay, and then a lot of people are talking to each other up there. Charlie Starkweather was from Nebraska. Okay. Yeah. Where was Ed Gein was from the Midwest. Ed Gein. Where is that book? Well, yeah, Ed Gein was somewhere in the Midwest.
Yeah. Wisconsin.
Yeah. So yeah, the Midwest, you're not getting off easy here. We're naming names. We got the receipts, as they say.
There are a lot. Yeah, the water tower scene. This is the only part of the movie I was less in for was the scene where the mother leaps off to catch Tessa's fall, which she does, which saves Tessa's life. It was like the way it was filmed was, I mean, I laughed, even though I love this movie, but I laughed, and the couple in front of me, I remember, also giggled. It didn't take away from the fact that I love it, but I did think like it could have been filmed slightly less hokey. Like the movie had camp throughout, like it was funny, but that scene was not one that I wanted to feel like that, like as comical. The like aerial shot of her flying down.
Yeah, that was kind of campy.
Yeah, that was my only one where I was like, this isn't where I would put the camp in. Like I enjoyed it in other sections. But yeah, the very like I loved how this movie ended. I absolutely loved that she was like got to be a mother and protect Tess, and that was so grody, the eyeball pushy outy head squish.
After
because he comes down to rewrite the narrative.
Right.
And this woman has none of it. She's like, you're dead. And then Tess, they have this moment, and she's
the mother.
Like, yeah, the mother and Tess.
Yeah.
And it's like the mother kind of knows Tess knows, but Tess knows she can't let this person live.
Yeah, the mother gives her a kiss on the forehead.
Yeah, because she saves her. And I think that was like, he didn't expect that. Do you know what I mean? Like he expected, and that was again like a play. Like he's just because the guy like lives in his own reality for sure. But yeah, when the credits rolled on this film, everyone in my theater was like, whoa, what? Like just big reactions throughout, and definitely at the ending, like, what did we just watch? And it was such a fun theater experience.
You know what I really laughed at? I laughed at the closing music, the song they picked.
Oh, I loved that. Yeah.
Be My Baby. Fun. I think that's by the Shirelles.
It was great.
Be My Baby. I just laughed out loud. I think from relief. I cracked up at that. Be My Baby.
And I didn't say this, but I think his name is Zach Krager. Again, correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but the director, he mostly did comedy up to this, which totally shows. Like, I do think the comedic bits throughout really worked. And I've heard an interview with him like after it aired where he was talking about how actually comedy and like knowing when to land a joke has a lot of overlap with horror and knowing when to like lean in or push back
Oh,
on some of that. And I thought
okay.
that was like really interesting. And for this to be his first horror, I was just like, I was so impressed. And I hope he gets to do more for sure.
Yeah, I think I'm okay now, but Friday I was like, I can't see anything that has to deal with SA ever
Sure.
again. I
Totally.
mean,
Totally.
I felt like it damaged my soul seeing
Yeah.
that. I just
I
felt
understand.
really bad. But it did its job. It disturbed the heck out of me on multiple levels. You
Hmm.
know, oh, yeah, Cycle's right about this. The gunshot being the first crack of the snare in the song was a stroke of genius. Very good, Cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so, uh, are we grading this, or are we just saying we loved it and move on? I don't even
No,
know
we
how to. I don't know how to grade. First of all, if
you're
we grade a movie, there have to be 10 stars. I'm not doing it on 5
oh, okay.
stars.
Yeah, I can do that. Well,
Okay.
I think it's that scene with the water tower is my only downfall. We should also mention this movie's only an hour and 40 minutes. Beautiful. We don't need 2 hour, 30-minute movies every time. Please stop doing that to us. Hate that.
Longlegs is also an hour and 40 minutes.
Love. Great length for a movie. Perfect. For me, it's like a 4.5 just because of that water tower scene. It annoys me. I'm not sure why, but it's just
Her falling and the
her
mother
falling.
jumping.
It takes me out of it at a time I didn't want to be taken out of it. But every time, this is like my fourth time watching this movie, and I pick
Oh,
up on something different every
interesting.
time. I love talking about it with people, even people who hated it. I still love hearing like what it
Huh.
is they picked up on. Um, so yeah, I love it. I would give it. I guess that's a 9 out of 10 then. For 4.5 out of 5, 9 out of 10. Yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give it. Would it have been more effective if instead of giving his point of view, seeing her falling down, the part, what if they saw him? What if we saw him push her and then it cut to the exterior and we see like a stunt double or something just seriously falling in slow motion? Like we're not seeing her face, but we're at the water tower and we see
I
her
see.
falling in slow motion. And then
So
we see the mother jump off to save her. Not maybe maybe we could have cut back to where he was and see the mother jump off. Maybe it would have been more effective if we see instead of you know what I mean, looking at her straight on falling and she's
yes, I
oh
think okay. I have heard a justification for this scene and why it's filmed that way,
oh
and not from the
interesting.
director, but from friends. And it, ironically, for us talking about this, Superman fans, they said that they thought it was filmed this way. One, it gives her agency because if you saw it from his perspective, it takes away the character's agency, which I agree with. I don't want to see it from his perspective and see her back because she's the hero. He's one of the barbarians, to be frank.
Mm-hmm.
So, not to be frank, ironically, because
Yeah,
there is
right.
a character called
The
Frank.
other
To be
barbarian.
AJ, not great, also. But it's kind of to mimic like a superhero because she does like put her arms out and he is like a comedic director. So I could see where that might be why they chose to film it that way. I think even if they just showed the kerfuffle and then he runs down there and we see she's broken the fall, we don't see the flying down, that would have been better for me. We could see Tess fall off because, okay. But to see her at all, it just took me out of it. But I can see why they didn't film it from his perspective because he doesn't deserve that. You know what I mean? Like she has agency, she's there to save, in that moment she's a hero, not even like a victim. So I think that's probably why they filmed it that way, but it's still even when I have that in the back of my head and I'm like that'd be cool, I'm like I just don't like it in actuality when it happened.
Okay.
But
uh yeah, I mean, sure, 9 out of 10. I To me, I mean, if we're going to be ranking movies, like 10 is The Godfather part
sure.
1 and 2. Those are the 10s. And so I don't know what horror movie I've seen Well, I don't know. I've seen a lot that I think are tens in the horror movie scale. Maybe not everything has to be compared to The Godfather. It's not fair to compare this to The Godfather or some of the greatest films ever made. Casablanca, Citizen Kane, whatever. I know I'm dating myself.
I've seen those movies.
Okay, good. Well, yeah, you're a theater buff, and I'd
I
love to
would
hear more about that theater that you love.
I would
That
say,
independent theater is so cool.
oh, I know. Bless. Love indie theaters. Go support them. Yeah, The Godfather Part 2, I would call a 10. I would say The Godfather Part 1 for me is like a not more like a 9.5. I think the second one's better for sure.
I'm not going to argue with
But they're
that.
both great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe not a 9 for you, but
Oh, what
you think?
Barbarian?
Barbarian. Mhm.
Oh yeah, no, it was a 9, definitely.
Oh, okay. All right.
Especially the effect on me. I mean, it disturbed me and creeped me out and made me feel bad about living and wanted me to curl up. I wanted to curl up in a ball. I wanted, yeah, it made me
Mhm.
feel, and so that's what does.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's important in these movies. Same with comic books. Same with any kind of medium.
Mhm.
You want to feel something. That's why we do these things, even if it's getting scared or getting emotionally attached to
Mhm.
somebody. I think by the end of the movie, we were sort of emotionally attached to Tess and happy that she actually did get up,
Mhm.
and the mother gave Justin Long what he deserved. That was,
Mhm.
I have to admit, I kind of closed my eyes a little bit.
I know it's a lot.
Yeah, I did. I was glad that he got it, but I was also like, okay.
Love.
um,
Good. I'm glad you liked it. I have had people, like I said, who I recommended it to who were like, I hated that. It was the worst thing I've ever seen. And I'm like, dang. But I think you have a ride of an experience no matter what. Honestly, I think the movie's worth it for a ride, even if you wind up not liking it. It's so different and unexpected that I think it's worth it just for that. Like, because there
yeah,
are so many formulaic movies. That doesn't mean they're all bad. Like, it's not bad to follow a formula, but it feels rare to surprise audiences the way that movie did
yeah.
in this era. And I think that alone is like worth it.
And I think what Barbarian has in common with Longlegs is they both had 3 separate parts that
They're
were pretty much labeled. They really were
mhm,
labeled in Longlegs, but
in Longlegs, yeah.
um, uh, but this had 3 different things, so 3 different settings. So yeah, I would definitely give it a 9. And Harvey's right. Godfather's a 10, and Godfather 2's a 12.
Okay, that's fair.
Apocalypse Now is 11, and The Conversation is a 9.5. I won't disagree with those at all. I know
Okay.
better. Vanessa's back. Bat Cato distracted me on Discord, showing me all the wonderful spooky things. What channel was that in my Discord? Was that in the general part? Where is he showing you spooky things, Vanessa? Okay, so
Longlegs.
um, I I I did have all the lights on for
Mm,
the next movie because I was warned. Um, yeah, where was it? General channel. Okay, thank you, Vanessa. I'll take a look. That's good. Um, Max from the Netherlands, the jazz
mhm.
guitarist,
Yeah.
he also is a horror fan. He's a big movie fan, and
Mm,
he said based on the supernatural element, the demonic element, that
mm,
I should have somebody in the house. Um,
sure.
so I left all the lights on down here and watched it. It it didn't affect me.
Mm,
Um, it horrified me, but it didn't scare me to my bone like
mhm,
Paranormal Activity did. There was, I, I, I don't even that movie. Oh, okay, yeah, Derek, we're gonna spoil it right now. Thank you. You definitely need to see it. So wait, I didn't? Okay, wait. Let me. Longlegs. It gets spoiled in the very beginning who Longlegs is. So we already
mhm,
know he's introduced. It's Nicolas Cage. You can't
mhm,
really tell. I mean, he does a wonderfully unhinged performance in that movie. I mean, he's
Yeah.
he's that character as it was could have been the Joker and a
Mm,
terrifying Joker in any Batman movie. Like,
that's a good comparison. I haven't heard that one. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
I mean, he was so unhinged, but he was also so devoted to his faith, I guess, in the devil. He could have been a great Joker in any Batman movie. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not dissing Longlegs. I'm sorry he didn't save that performance for some future Batman movie because it would
Nope.
have been awesome. But the major twist in this movie was amazing to
Mm,
me.
mm.
Like I knew as soon as I knew, this is a major spoiler, by the way. As soon as I knew Blair Underwood's daughter was having a birthday, I knew that was the final one.
Mhm,
I figured
mhm.
that out.
Me too. Yeah. When Agent Harker is on the bed talking to her, and she's like, "Come to my
Yeah,
birthday party." Yeah.
I knew that was that was going to happen. So, but the big twist, never saw that happening.
The where he was living. That one
Where was he living?
under the house. He was
Under
downstairs
her
the whole
house?
time. Yeah, her childhood home.
Oh,
That's
that.
why the basement was locked, which I did figure out. When she
Oh,
was in the kitchen, I was like, "Yeah."
oh. I
Which
didn't
we
pick
should
up on
say,
that.
this is a movie about Agent Harker who is graduating. Is it the FBI?
Yeah, she's with the FBI. She's on her first, I think, sounds like first case, and she's a little bit psychic. She's very psychic,
Just a little bit
actually.
psychic, just a little
Yeah,
bit a
yeah.
little bit psychic, a little bit rock and roll. Not really. She's very straight laced and kind of like I don't like to type people, but I feel like her character is portrayed potentially as being like on the spectrum. She's
Right.
very like black and white thinking, and she has a little bit of trouble with her communication around like
She has
emotions.
social anxiety for sure.
Yeah, definitely at least social anxiety.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we don't know because this movie takes place in the 90s and that people were not, necessarily being diagnosed as kids with any sort of like, not too many labels. When I was a kid in the 90s, I feel like it was very uncommon, that sort of thing. Like even there were some boys, I think, being diagnosed, for example, with ADD, but I don't really, not as much as we see now, like early intervention and diagnosis for different things. So we're not entirely sure, but she's definitely socially a little bit socially awkward, a little anxiety for sure.
Yeah, she did a great job conveying this how scared she was in various situations. That's one thing in both movies. You have to convey that sense of being utterly frightened. And when she pulls her gun on that first case where she said, "This is the house," and she goes in,
That was nuts.
that was a crazy good acting job. I mean, I could feel the panic in there. And the tension was ratcheted up. I kudos to her. She did a wonderful job portraying that role because I
That
was constantly I had anxiety, which is good because that means the scene was effective. But anytime she pulled her gun, she was freaked out, and I think rightly so.
Yeah, and that opening scene, they're going door to door because they believe this serial killer that they're looking for is in one of the homes, and she hears a noise, and that's the noise that recurs throughout the film, and
Oh
it
yeah,
keys
what is
her.
that noise?
So it's also the noise of the little balls in the dolls' heads. And so the
Oh,
idea is if he's always lived below her, that this has always been something in her consciousness. And that is what in fact caused her kind of like ESP or like kind of like psychic. There's a lot of theories. A lot of people come out of this film. I saw some comments earlier in the chat that were like alluding to this, but some people come out of it and they're like, there was a supernatural element. And some people come out of it and they're like, there wasn't. And some people are like, I'm not sure, or it's a mixture. But this psychic kind of thing about her starts early in the film with this noise that then connects to a kind of noise that you hear throughout the film associated
Oh,
with the dolls.
it was when they did the autopsy on the doll and the ball was in
You
the
hear
head
it
and
then. You hear it several times, which
yeah,
is
you're
why
right.
I was like, it was great to see in a theater for a lot of reasons, but one of the biggest ones was the sound design in this movie. There's a lot going on, and I feel like I haven't been able to watch it on the TV yet, but I am curious, like, does it translate to the TV? So I'll report back when I
The
do
sound.
eventually rewatch this. The
Yeah,
layers of it, because there's a lot throughout the film.
I don't think. I mean, the music definitely, the sound and music. I just watched it on regular TV, so I
Yeah.
haven't figured out yet how to Bluetooth my speakers because I haven't taken the time. I'm sure I can, and that would make watching TV and movies a much better experience to have them hooked up to my speakers. But yeah, when they do the autopsy of the doll they find, and they put whatever device that was up to it, and it plays that noise, and it sends her into seeing the snakes and that she sees when she hears that noise.
Yeah, and that's what she hears when she goes up to this house, but you don't know that because this is like the second or third scene in the movie. And I was honestly, I was shocked. This is in the comments from Bat Cato. Oh, when they investigate and
Yeah.
immediately you hear that gunshot, that was so crazy. I haven't seen an opening of a movie that shocked me in that way because we're like following this lady. She's graduating from the police academy. She's kind of with this guy. He seems very sweet, her like partner and her FBI partner.
Yeah.
And I just did not expect it to go there that quickly. That was startling to me. And I haven't been that startled at the start of a movie in a really long time. That was wild. That
Yeah,
was wild.
I think I jumped a little bit.
I did too. I jumped big time in my seat. Yeah, it was a lot of people in the theater did. I was like, "Oh my gosh."
Yeah, that was not expected at
No,
all.
no.
Uh,
Yeah.
keep going.
I was just gonna say then she gets recruited to be brought into the case because people um determine that like, yeah, they don't know how much of it believe, but they've tested her and they do think she has some kind of like hyper vigilant awareness or psychic whatever, depending on like how much the different people in the bureau believe her. They might choose different words. And so they recruit her for a special case with Blair Underwood, who becomes her new partner, and she meets his family. And he doesn't age because he's a vampire, but not in this movie.
He definitely does not age. I don't even think he's gained weight. He looks exactly the same from LA Law.
He's looking good.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he was great. They were great in scenes together because he's so like the opposite of her. I really liked his character, which broke my heart at the end of the film. But he's so warm and loving, and he can kind of tell Harker is awkward. He doesn't really know why. She talks a little bit about her mom, and he just can tell it's not the best dynamic. And so he really like brings her into the folds, maybe even more than I would imagine some of his other partners, because he can just see she's like kind of isolated, kind of lonely. That traumatic thing happened with her partner, her first partner not too long ago. And I just thought it was really great. I also thought his kid was a good actor because kid actors can be like all over the place, but I thought she was really good.
She was very good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I I don't know how much you can deconstruct this movie because
It's so hard. Yeah.
One thing I wondered is why she never told Carter that Longlegs was in her house and left her something special, a card.
Oh yeah, she's very
she
secretive. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would have thought that she would have told him that first thing. Because it helped her decipher the code.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I also want to say the scenes when she does go home, and her house, it looks like it might be kind of in the woods. I don't know how deep into the woods. It's kind of dark. It has a lot of windows, which is terrifying in a in a horror movie. I was constantly looking in the shadows, looking in the windows. That scene is really good where she's trying to decipher this birthday card. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Her home. Yeah. Now her mother's home, where she grew up, and I did not pick up on the fact that Longlegs lived below him. Wow. Uh, um, I'm going to jump to
Yeah.
her character is looking for her mother towards the very end of the film, looking for her mother, and she hears gunshots out in the driveway. And as she leaves that room, there's a shadow of a horned
Multiple
beast.
times through the movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Where else did we see that? I only picked up on it right there, that we saw that shadow out of the window.
So the first time I noticed it in the theaters, after I left the theater, apparently there are 10 or 11 of them.
Oh my
that people
gosh,
have found.
really?
I know. And I've seen videos where they show you 2 of them are like almost impossible to see. I don't think they're lying, but I'm like, you'd have to have the brightness turned way up and be looking to notice this. But the one I distinctly remember is she's trying to decipher the code. She goes to the library and she gets all these like occult sort of books that she's using to try to determine if there's a pattern. She's looking at symbols. And she looks out and it's raining and there's a shadow along a purse. It's like a ram, basically, kind of like horns that are curved on a head. And I was like, that's weird. But I think when I saw the scene, because she'd been looking in books at all those images of things like that, I thought it was just like in her head.
Oh.
And then it wasn't until later in the movie I saw 2 more. One of them is the one you're talking about. There's another one where she shuts the door. I think it's that scene. She shuts the door and sees the horns. And at the very end, at the birthday party, when Blair Underwood shuts the door after he's let in her mom, the horns are in the door. You can see a shadow.
Oh, shoot, I didn't see that either.
There's several. You can find a YouTube video that shows you them all. But I didn't notice it. And so at the end of the movie, I really was the very first watch, like trying to determine how much I thought was actually supernatural or demonic or whatever, and how much was real. But once I saw that video, I was like, oh no, this was definitely like a supernatural movie throughout. But they tricked you because, again, in the trailer, this looked kind of like a spiritual successor to Silence of the Lambs, which is not supernatural, but it is creepy.
Yeah.
And it's set up, I think, intentionally to kind of put you in that mindset. And then it goes in like a totally different direction. And then I haven't gotten the chance to watch it back, but having seen people's videos, I can tell that they pick up a lot more on the clues about how it all comes together as like kind of like a demonic thing throughout the film. But I missed that because, again, I'm like, oh, she's catching a serial killer and it's kind of creepy, but she's catching a serial killer. So that was really cool. And I am looking forward to watching it all the way through again to pick up on those things.
Vanessa said it was very good, very creepy. I think Nicolas Cage did so good. He was genuinely unnerving, made my skin crawl. I loved it. I was expecting a supernatural horror, but it ended up being a crime thriller.
See, I don't think so, Vanessa. I think you need to watch a video and rewatch the movie, Vanessa.
I think it started out as a crime thriller and ended up as supernatural horror.
Yeah. Agreed.
You know, it's a good movie when they let Cage go full Cage and it works.
The scene in the car when he is going berserk at the wheel, screaming.
Yeah.
That was the creepiest scene for me, to be honest with you. Not the like weird hand stuff. I was like, there are weird dudes all the time. Like but when he was going berserk, I was like, oh, this is a lot.
And then I thought also creepy is when at the very end, when Agent Harker has to resort to driving the station wagon that Longlegs had always used. That was the only way, because their partner's murdered out in the freaking parking, the driveway. Okay, yeah, and she's leaving because she has to go see the penguin, which I want to start watching.
Oh,
but look for the devil's horns, which are apparently throughout this movie. I feel like I only saw 1 or 2, and Jessica's saying they were like 10. So check it out.
The other thing to look for, that again, I haven't gotten a chance to rewatch it, but I will as soon as it's streaming. But the apparently a lot of the stuff Longlegs, kind of the weird stuff he says throughout the front end of the movie, and the stuff Kiernan Shipka's character the one with the buzz cut that survived, that's in the hospital.
Oh,
Sabrina
that
the
was
Teenage.
Kiernan Shipka. I thought it
Yeah,
looked like her. God, she does a
yeah,
good job.
she does such a good job. She deserves more work than she kind of gets, I think.
She was
She's
great in
aging
Black
well.
Coat's Daughter.
Yeah, I need to see it. But a lot of that stuff, once you've seen it the first time and you know what's revealed towards the end, all of that stuff apparently makes a lot more sense. But I mean, neither of us have gotten a chance to rewatch it, but I'm looking forward to putting that together.
Mm. I think for
Yeah.
the occult focus, I feel like I need to see Oddity. It sounds like Oddity has a stronger occult focus, but I see what you're getting at. It was a little bit lightly occult. But I mean, when the mom breaks the doll's metal ball and the black stuff goes out of her head and then the black stuff goes out of the doll's head, that's supernatural. I mean,
For sure. Yeah. That was definitely one of the moments in the theater where it was like, okay, there's no going back. This is definitely supernatural. And I need to
yeah.
say the dolls are so creepy in this film. The red eyes beneath the veil because you find out
yeah.
Longlegs is a doll maker,
That's
and
right.
Jess didn't know, but under the house.
Didn't
He's
pick
making
up
these
on that.
dolls, and you find out that Agent Harker's mom, they were targeted by Longlegs, but what saved them is she basically makes this religious woman, ultra religious woman, makes a deal with the devil essentially, and does his bidding to take these dolls into the home. And there's something about them. And in my mind, at the beginning of the movie, I thought there was like a chemical compound that made people, like, I don't know, lose their minds. But now I'm like, yeah, I actually do think that was probably supernatural. Now that I've like seen it all the way through. But the dolls really scared me. Like, not the people chopping each other up, because that doesn't do anything for me, but like their eyes beneath the veil really creeped me out. That was super freaky. I have to say,
Yeah.
the design on that was wicked scary.
Totally. No, we're still talking spooky, Hayden, and I want to say hi to Elan, who I saw back here.
Oh,
Yeah.
Elon's
Hi,
here.
Elan, my two favorite Jesses. Thank you for being here if you're still here.
Yes, good to see you.
Oh, and Gary Redmond said, Osgood Perkins definitely has an odd directing and editing style. It took two viewings of Longlegs for me to find its rhythm. I still haven't been able to get into his Gretel and Hansel retelling. I don't know that one.
I did enjoy that movie.
Was that
but
the
I know
one
a lot
with
of people
Hawkeye
didn't.
in it? What's
No,
his name?
No, that's different.
Gretel and Hansel.
He's not in that movie. No, I know what you're talking about. The one you're talking about was kind of like an action movie. This is a horror. Sophia Lillis, Jessica DeGao.
Oh, it's horror. It's called Gretel and Hansel.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Yeah, it came out. I feel like it's been a few years. Yeah, 2020. Yeah,
okay.
I liked that one.
Jeremy Renner is who I'm thinking of.
Yeah, Hayden has it. The Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters is the Jeremy Renner one you're thinking of.
Okay.
Action.
Oh, with Famke Janssen. Okay, Janssen. Okay, yep. Awesome. Thank you, Hayden.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. The other we didn't talk about this, but I thought it was cool that they did is it 8mm? The
in the
little
very
film.
beginning?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anything that's a flashback to Harker's childhood is filmed, and I thought that really added a lot to like segment, not just to indicate this is a flashback, but it also was kind of creepy because that first scene, it's very white, everything's white because it's winter, she's playing outside, and that's when you first see Longlegs, and he's in pretty much a white, like lighter color, and he has like some white on his face, and he's barely in the frame, and because it's tiny on your screen, it just adds to like this notion that when you do look back at childhood memories, they sometimes are a bit obscure, like obscured, like you're not sure what was real, what wasn't real. Like they're tiny in your mind. You can't see them as clear as like, we do things now. And I think that was really creative. I enjoyed that as a storytelling device.
And I know there's no movie if this happens, but somebody like Longlegs showing up on my property, talking to my child, gets a shovel in the back about 50 times and I dig them a grave and they're gone.
right above the minimus gluteus minimus. Throwback.
That's where that's where I'm aiming with the first shovel stab. Boom! Minimus gluteus.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so creepy. Ugh.
Yeah, no, you can't show up on my property like looking like that and talking to my daughter. I'm totally killing you.
Yeah.
And then the movie's over. So yeah, that's why that didn't happen. But
Mm-hmm. I'm still processing that you didn't realize he lived downstairs.
I'm
A lot of reveals happened though in a rapid sequence, so I get
I
it.
I guess I think I must have thought when she comes back, she does Agent Harkness does go downstairs finally and looks around, and then when she comes up, it's the door next to the refrigerator, right? That she comes
Mm-hmm.
through. I must have put it together, but I did not put it together that um, Longlegs lived below the mother. It just did not click with me. That's
Yeah, when
amazing.
because the mom's a hoarder and is like kind of a little, like we mentioned, she's ultra religious, or at least we think she is at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah,
And so her talk is very like fervored, fire and brimstone. Like anytime you hear her on the phone earlier throughout, and then you meet her throughout the movie, and she's a hoarder and she's kind of like not totally present. And so Agent Harker has an early scene when she's in the kitchen and the door is padlocked to go to the basement. But I put together that he must be connected, but I did not suspect she was doing his bidding, the mother, conscientiously. That never occurred to me until it was revealed, which is wild. But I did think like, oh, he lives downstairs. But in my brain, everything was happening so fast. I just would have never suspected she was so aware she was a part of it. But you could tell she was like totally aware that this was a deal that she made, to
yeah.
protect her daughter. But that was wild to me. And yeah, I just never expected that. I can say for sure.
Maybe I need to turn it back on and fast forward to that scene so I pick up on it again.
Yeah, it's like one of the first scenes she goes home at. You see her.
Well,
There's
I
also, I
do
think,
remember. I do remember that.
flies.
I mean, I need to go towards the end when
Oh yeah,
she walks down there.
yeah.
Is that when you figured out that he lived below when she
That
goes
it was
down there,
confirmed. Yeah, and
or
I
did
think
you
it
see
gets
it
talked.
earlier?
No. I
Okay.
think we're talking about the same scene.
Yeah.
That's when I was like, oh, for sure, yeah, because it was confirmed. But also, you kind of learn from her in the flashback that he's been down there. There's also a scene. I thought there was a scene towards the end of the film where you kind of see her upstairs, and then you transition to him downstairs in his weird '70s basement doll making factory, which was like, it was so creepy. That was creepy. The barn. This film was very like filmed very creepily. I can say that for sure.
Yeah. Oh, the barn was an excellent scene where X marks the spot.
That was
The-
creepy.
yeah.
Anytime
Um,
there's a doll involved, it's a no.
oh, and there was a lot of dolls in this movie.
More than you would think, yeah, from the trailer.
That's one reason um I think, was it Mike Flanagan that did The Conjuring, or who am I thinking of? I can't, or is it James Wu? What whatever director did The Conjuring and The Conjuring 2, I love both those movies. But then Annabelle came out.
Mm,
Not seeing that. I am not seeing any
yeah.
haunted doll movie at all. I don't want to see that. So I've never seen Annabelle, Son of Annabelle, Annabelle 5, whatever, any of those
Mm,
movies. No, I am
yeah, I
not
don't like that
seeing
stuff.
those. Okay, James Wan, right. Thank you,
Yeah.
Hayden. Okay, I thought maybe so. I'm not saying I'm Batgirl. I'm just saying nobody has ever seen me and Batgirl in a room together. Okay.
So anything else that you really like that stood out to you that you loved, or was there anything that you didn't love about the film, or what was revealed? Like, how did it settle with you? Because it's a lot. Like, you get a lot of these reveals, honestly, in the last 15 minutes, and then it is really cut to black, similar to the other film, but maybe after less resolution as Barbarian. I'm wondering how you felt about like satisfaction wise with what happened.
Yeah, I it was odd that she didn't just blow the head off the doll and keep him from stabbing his wife to death, which you can hear. Ugh.
You know, it was
Um,
upsetting.
Yeah, you can hear it. I totally support the fact that she shot her mom, but and she had no choice but to shoot Blair Underwood. But my first move would have been to shoot the doll, blow the head off so that the black stuff disappears, and I would say breaks the spell, because the doll's still whole when she takes Ruby out of there. So Ruby's still under its spell, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, there are some theories that I saw, and again, I'd have to rewatch it because again, I only saw 2 of these horn guys. I didn't, or 3. I saw 3.
Gosh, I didn't see
I know.
just one.
But there are. I left the theater, I should say, slightly unsatisfied with the ending. I don't need everything in a neat bow. I don't need that. But I was like, what? Like that was what was the point of this movie? It was like how I felt about the ending piece. And I totally agree. If I was her, I would have done things like completely differently. And I think part of why she didn't is she was still so in shock learning the depths to which her mother was involved. And I totally get that.
She was paralyzed, just absorbing it all. Yeah. So I can see why that happened.
But you also realize, I think one of 2 things is happening. To me, when I saw the ending, I thought she was coming to a realization that it was all real. And so then it faded to black, because like Longlegs bashes his own brains in, and still the mom is under contract because she's still like out of it. Then she takes the mom out. And I think the doll being whole signified something to me as a viewer. I thought it was like, it's not over. This thing is still happening. We can't stop it. Who knows how far widespread, blah, blah, blah. That's how I interpreted the ending. But I have heard from other people that they think now she's under like contract and under control. And because he literally was in her basement her whole life.
Yeah.
The sound was that wavelength sound that is demonic in some way, right? She was raised with that, and that's what gave her psychic abilities. You could pretty safely guess, at least.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it leaves her, and I think there's some kind of control that it perhaps still has over her by the time the film is over. Because we didn't talk about this, but besides the 8mm, there's also this other device with the chapter sequences where you see snakes. And it's not just when a new chapter happens, it happens in her brain sometimes. Like something will happen in the movie and it's red and snakes or something like that, or red, some kind of image. And so I think
she sees something and it makes her think of those snakes.
Mm-hmm. And so some people think now she's being controlled to some degree. I don't know to what degree, which I think is an interesting theory, because again, the first time I saw it, I was processing in real time with her, like, oh, this was definitely supernatural. This shit was real the whole time.
Yeah.
But I need to watch it again to be able to see what others are seeing as far as the kind of control perhaps that Longlegs or the devil or whoever always had over her. That's the part that I couldn't see as a through line because I thought we were just watching a crime thriller.
Harvey's right. She did. I apologize. She did point the gun at the doll, and the gun. She must have been out of bullets, or it misfired. Yeah, that's right. You're right, Harvey. Thank you. Vanessa's checking out. Thanks for watching, Vanessa. Appreciate it. Earth's Geomancer. I really enjoyed the horror movie commentary from you two. You should consider doing this again.
We will.
I think we will. We've found more common ground.
Of course. Yes.
Peace and love, man.
We love being tortured mentally.
I love being disturbed for some reason. I don't know why I do this to myself.
Yeah. So what for you, like satisfaction wise at the end, how did you feel about how things came together?
It was, I didn't think there could be a perfect resolution. She wasn't going to go in there, and the way it ended, I felt was like not perfect, but I mean, it makes sense to me the way it ended. So I was not dissatisfied. I was left with kind of a feeling of, uh-oh, what's going to happen now? Because she says, let's go, Ruby. And the doll's still whole. And the FBI chief is like on the ground bleeding, and it leaves a lot of questions unanswered, which I think is okay. I don't mind that. I was actually fine with that. But I understand maybe your frustration with it.
It was more thematically. I don't need, I mean, you and I have talked about me watching The Shining. There's a lot of, I mean, I've read the book, but there's a lot in the movie that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And I'm totally fine with that because it's like, oh, they're ghosts. Sometimes I don't need more than that. So I didn't mind that, but I thought thematically I felt unsatisfied. Like I'm still trying to think about like why that ending was chosen. Not that I needed things explained to me. Does that make sense? Like you're setting out to tell a story and I'm trying to figure out like, why is this where you end it? Because one theme I did pick up on when I watched, and then I was talking to a friend about it later, and she also picked up on it. So I was like, oh, I think there's something here to this, which is the mom is like shielding Agent Harker since she's a child. And so there's a lot about like what you hide from your children to try to convince them the world is safe, because we didn't really say this, but like a lot of kids die in this movie. And
oh yeah. A lot of families. Yeah.
And I think they intentionally chose an era specifically because like the present day is the 90s, but this has been going on for like 20 years basically. And I think that era was chosen, and it reminds me a little bit of when we were talking about Barbarian, like you don't know what you don't know. And I think the mom is trying to protect the kid from the evils of the world. In this case, quite literally the devil, but metaphorically as well. And then at the end, Harker finds herself in a kind of maternal role all of a sudden, in a way. I mean, I'm not saying she's going to adopt this girl, but it's like this girl's looking to you and she can't do anything. You know what I mean? She can't protect this girl. It's already got a hold on her. So I think there is something to this bit about like, like what you try to save your kids from or like try to shield them from, and how good or not that is. You know what I mean? Like in Harker's case, it really messed her up. I mean, literally the devil was living in her basement and her mom did everything to shield her. So I don't know. So then when I get to the ending, I'm like, there's something here. There's something to this notion that like now Harker finds herself with this girl who does love her. She invited her to her birthday party, despite Harker being very awkward. And they're face to face. The worst thing has happened. Harker couldn't protect her, her from her parents dying. And now we're in this moment where she's kind of like at a crossroads about how to proceed. But I don't know. I need to see it again to like really set with it more.
Harvey says, I think she had at least 2 bullets left, so it must have misfired, which gives more credence to the clear evil power of the doll.
Yeah.
Just check. She fired 3 times before trying to shoot the doll and pulls the trigger on the doll 3 times.
Wow.
What was the possessed swimming pool movie?
Oh, yeah. That movie was very weird. Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Night Swim? No. What was it called? I can't remember.
A possessed killer swimming pool. That's James, I am totally down for this, but I don't know if Jessica likes Hallmark Christmas movies.
Oh, James, just because he knows I love Hallmark Christmas movies.
Oh, he does. Oh my God, that's what we need to review. I will watch a Hallmark Christmas movie every day in December. That would be a great assignment. That I would totally do. That's
Night Swim.
Oh, Night Swim. Okay. That's kind of my guilty pleasure, or my wife makes fun of me for, is that I love Hallmark. I like Hallmark movies, not just Christmas movies, just throughout the year.
In general.
Yeah. I could turn on any. I do need to feel chemistry with the man and woman, or if there's woman and woman or man and man, whatever it is.
The leads, like the romantic leads.
Yeah. I have to feel like I have to feel something for him. I have a total thing for what's her name? She was that mean girl.
Lacey Chabert, the Queen of Christmas, of course.
Sorry,
the Queen of Christmas.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I have a total thing for her. So yeah.
We could do some Hallmarks for sure. I love them. I keep an Excel spreadsheet of them. I rate them. It's like a whole thing. James knows. He knows.
How does
But
James know this?
we've just talked about it before. But I only have it October, November, December. I get the Friendly app, which is like very cheap because I don't have cable. But it has its own DVR inside the app. So I always have it October, November, December, sometimes January if I fall behind. But I don't keep it all year long, sadly. But my parents do watch them all year long. They both love the Movies and Mysteries. I always call it Murders and Mysteries. Hallmark Movies and Mysteries channel.
Oh,
That
I
has like
haven't seen
Aurora
anything on that.
Teagarden and stuff like that. They're like they have romances too, but they're like little mysteries. Some of them are okay. They're all right.
Darn it. I should have written it down because I think I read an article and I'm trying to think. I read so many different articles. I don't read about anything political ever. I always read about media, like what somebody's recommending. And I can't think of where I got it from. The Washington Post or Decider. Maybe it was on Decider, something about the first, it was about a new Christmas Hallmark movie, and it gave it like rave reviews. And I forgot to write down what the name was. James, what was it? James will know.
It's James, is it called the Christmas Charade? It's this weekend. It was probably one that's coming out now. It's a Rachel Skarsten movie that's kind of like I don't know if they're spies or what. This is her second time doing a movie kind of like that.
Spies.
James will know because he just messaged me about it like today, I think, that it's airing this weekend. The Christmas Charade. Yeah. It just came out. I think it was last night's movie, maybe. It might be tonight's. It's this weekend.
Okay, wait. There's a lot of new things that just popped up. Yeah, Hallmark. It's exactly like the greeting cards.
Yep.
Yeah.
Lots
Imagine thinking James doesn't know something. Did I say he didn't know something? I think I just said he would know it, didn't I? Lacey's movie, next Christmas movie is Hot Frosty coming to Netflix.
Okay, I have a theory about this, James. All right, so Jess, first off, all you need to know about this movie is Lacey Chabert wishes a snowman to come to life, and he becomes a hot man.
That's weird.
But here's my theory: it is either a prequel to the Jack Frost movie with is it Michael Keaton that's in that movie where he dies and becomes a snowman. So it's either the prequel to that or it's the sequel to the iconic 90s Christmas commercial where that little snowman comes inside and eats a bowl of Campbell's soup and reveal that it's a little boy.
Yeah.
This is my theory. This movie is either the sequel to the Campbell's commercial or the prequel to the Jack Frost movie.
That is a classic commercial.
But I will be watching it either way, yes.
Earth's Geomancer, do you want to do casual Hallmark Christmas movies discourse? Sure. Christmas Charade. Okay. Maybe that's it. I'll check it out. There's give or take 106 new Christmas movies on TV this year.
And 47 of them are Hallmark.
Are these the same vibe as the Christmas movies Lindsay Lohan has been doing for Netflix? Lindsay Lohan's doing movies for Netflix?
Yeah. I think she's done 2 Christmas movies. Hayden, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a new one that she'll be in this year that's also a Christmas movie. I think Netflix has announced 3. There's this Lacey Chabert one, another Lindsay Lohan one, and then there's one with Christina Milian. I don't know the plot. I just saw that she's going to be in a Christmas movie. I was like, yeah, I'll watch that. Netflix has done a few. Hayden, I would say the Netflix ones are like kind of zanier. I don't know how to describe it. The Hallmark ones are a little bit more saccharine, though they've really changed it up the last few years. I feel like they've tried like new plots. But neither of them are like theater quality, Hayden. I would say they have that in common.
Yeah, I think in a few weeks with Kristen Chenoweth. That's the Netflix movie?
The Lindsay must be the one who's co-starring with Lindsay Lohan.
Huh.
They're not the Lindsay Lohan ones that she's done have been really bad, but in the best way. She was also in a terrible St. Patrick's Day Irish Wish or Irish Kiss one this year. It was horrendous. I enjoyed every second of it. Loved. And I looked it up, and there's only one actually Irish person in the movie. Everyone else is pretty much English, and I think that's offensive.
Netflix Christmas movies. Meet Me Next Christmas, Hot Frosty, The Merry Gentleman, Our Little Secret.
Oh, there's 4. Okay.
I don't know how I'm going to find it. I may just have to look up I hate this. I may have to look. Why didn't I write this down? I'll have to look up the plots of all the new Hallmark Christmas movies and see if I can figure it out. Actually, I can take the spoilers banner off because we're not spoiling anything. Unless you consider talking about Hallmark movies spoilers.
Did you, before we finish up with Hallmark or go back to Hallmark, did you want to rate Longlegs? I'm curious your like overall rating.
Thought it was definitely creepy. You're telling me that he was actually living underneath. I am
telling you that.
I know. I just did not pick up on it, and it bumps it up. I mean,
okay.
It way bumps it up. I didn't figure that out, and that's why I always like having these discussions with somebody else, so that I can get their perspective. And I don't figure things out. I did not figure that out. I thought, oh yeah, I know this family's going to get it. And then it turns out like the most obvious thing I don't figure out, that the devil's living under her house.
Watch me be wrong. Watch everyone's comments tomorrow be like, that was totally incorrect. But
I think you're 100% correct. It makes total sense. To me, I feel like it was an 8.5. It was good and creepy. The twist was awesome. Just the twist. When a twist is that hard of a twist, and it just completely boggles the mind of not only me but the people in the movie. It raises it for me. So I felt like it was an 8.5, and I enjoyed. I am sorry I missed all the horns.
Yeah, me too.
The devil's horns, because I thought I feel like I picked up on a couple. I know that one I picked up on, but that would have made it even better for me had I seen all those little leitmotifs or whatever they are. And I did pick up on the red eyes on the dolls, so that was cool. Yeah, I actually really, the more I think about it, and with the added bonus of the devil living under the house that I'm informed about, I like, yeah, it's like an 8.5 for me.
Yeah, I think I want to see it again, and I think that will really solidify. When I saw it, I would give it probably like a 7.5. But here's 2 things. First thing is, I kept seeing right before I saw the movie, I saw everyone talking about how this is the scariest movie they've seen in like a decade and all this other stuff. And I slept like a baby after I saw it. Like, it's a little eerie, but I was not scared. So I think the hype machine affected like my first viewing. Yeah. And then now that I've seen a few more things that I missed, I do think if I go back, this could get higher, like an 8 or an 8.5, because I think it'll feel more cohesive to me. But it felt, somebody said it earlier in the chat about Osgood Perkins' style of directing, sometimes feeling like it's hard to find the rhythm of. And I agree. Yeah. I think if I saw it a second time, it would just be more cohesive for me. So I am looking forward to rewatching it. For me right now, it's like a 7.5. I do still think it's a 7.5 that I still think people should watch if they're interested. And the filmmaking is fantastic, regardless of whether you wind up liking the plot or not. I think it's great filmmaking.
Yeah, okay. Now what was I going to say that I already forgot?
Hallmark, we can be back now.
Oh, okay. I think this was it. Thank you, James. What an awesome dude. I did read it on Decider.
Yeah. And it is the Christmas charade.
Yeah, Christmas charade. Okay. So if I forget, I know Jessica and James both know. And the chat,
100%.
please remind me, it's the Christmas charade
Yes.
on Hallmark. Maybe that's the first thing we review. We should watch a couple
Absolutely.
Hallmark movies and review those.
You don't
as
have to
well
tell
as
me twice.
Sorry?
But you don't have to tell me twice. I love it. I live it.
Hallmark movies and horror movies. We're vibing, man. It's awesome. Okay. Fun but not great. I'm not gonna have any problem sleeping. I don't get any hype machine because I don't go on internet wherever or I don't have any friends that are I have virtual friends like you and Lou that will tell me and then Cycle's always telling me to watch The Substance. So but I don't get hit with the hype machine. So things like the show Wednesday were never ruined for me like they were for other people because it got so hyped up. So I didn't know this movie was hyped up. I knew Earth's Geomancer loved it and wanted us to review it. And that you wanted us to, but I'm totally down for rewatching The Devil's Backbone because it's been years since I've seen it, and whatever other movie. I think we wanted to watch Dr. Sleep, but what was the other movie I said with
it also had Devil. It was late night with the Devil. Is that what it's called?
Oh, yeah, I'd love to see both of those. Devil's Backbone and Late Night with the Devil.
Yeah, I think we should do those too. Yeah.
Yeah, we should do those before we take a Christmas break.
Yeah.
You do nothing but Christmas movies.
So cheery. There are horror Christmas movies, to be fair, but
Gary Redmond, this was great. I liked both movies, and the discussion on Longlegs makes me want to watch it a third time. Awesome. Again, I am no movie critic. I have no authority whatsoever. I'm a comic book critic, sort of, but these are just Jessica knows. The reason why this partnership's going to work is because Jessica can take the deep dive into things that I miss, like the devil living in the basement, and the layers of things, and I can give more of a general feeling of things, and it's kind of the same thing with comics and almost all media. It sort of all washes over me, and other people can do the deep dives, and they're more intellectual about it. So
I think you are too, though, about comics. I think you have a lot more layers than you're giving yourself credit for. But I also think as I said before, like I am more drawn to themes. Like if I'm gonna watch, I call them ghosties, like a paranormal one. I want it to have layers because I know I'm not gonna have trouble sleeping, and I want it to be worth it. But I also watch on the face dumb stuff. Like one of my favorites is Slumber Party Massacre. There's no deep hidden meaning in Slumber Party Massacre. I just love it. So. That's what it is.
Party Massacre.
It's just a good time. Good times were had by all.
Slumber Party Massacre. Yeah, I'm like an onion. I'm an onion with one layer. It just cracks me up. You know what? One thing I've never seen is Nightmare Before Christmas.
That is so crazy. What a great movie.
Is that a Christmas movie or a Halloween movie or both?
It's a great question. I watch it in October. I never watch it in December, but the reason is there are just more Christmas movies than there are specifically Halloween movies. There's lots of scary movies, but one specifically about Halloween, there are less. So I usually watch it in October, but I think it could be both. Maybe you watch it in November. It's a bridge movie.
Okay. Yeah, it's
great,
crazy
though.
that I haven't seen it. I think everybody on the planet has seen it and not
me.
Yeah.
We wore that VHS tape out when I was a kid. My sister and I both loved that one.
Nice. Hayden agrees with you. What should I expect from a person that has Chucky as their avatar?
Hayden, the TV, I don't know if it's a reboot or a remake. I don't know what the right word is. The Rebirth. So good if you haven't seen it. I would try to get your hands on it. Oh, it was so great. It
Oh,
paid homage to the first two. It's also called Slumber Party Massacre, but it was made for
oh,
Sci-Fi, like the channel.
is sci-fi
Um,
still a thing?
yeah.
I need to watch. I really loved on the Sci-Fi Channel. Oh shoot, what's her name? She inherits a gun that sends people to hell or something.
Winona Earp. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
They
Winona Earp.
Tubi just did a like kind of movie special
Oh,
to
that was on Tubi,
recently.
not Sci-Fi.
It was on Sci-Fi, but it got canceled on Sci-Fi. I think it was it 3 seasons, I believe, maybe 4. I
Okay,
think it was
I
3.
think I think I only saw one season, so
Oh,
that's something
great, Jess.
she was great. She was a
Yeah.
badass. I
Yeah,
loved
I
it.
love Winona Earp. But Tubi, which is free if you don't have it, it's a great little app. They did a TV movie, kind of like reunion movie, I guess, but of course you'll have need to seen the show to know how we ended up where we're at in the movie. But it was pretty
Okay,
good.
so I do need to do that. Okay, good.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Okay, well, oh, this is good. Revival's a great show. I hope they do a
I
good.
heard that.
I mean, Revival is a great comic book. I hope they do a good service. They treat it properly because it's really good. Okay, well, I know you need to get to work. You need to get in bed, read a book with your glass of tea, your cup of tea, and everything. It sounds very cozy. I've got a
Yep.
sweatshirt on because it's turned cold here, so it's awesome. So I love doing this with you, and I hope the people that watch this enjoyed it too. We just have fun talking about stuff we like, and this has been great.
Yeah, absolutely. And if people have recommendations of anything like the 2 that we reviewed that you think we like, please put those in the comments because I do keep a nice little list for rainy days when I need a horror movie.
Yeah, and we'll start a separate Hallmark channel. The thumbnail I just had my wife whip up together really fast. We'll do better thumbnails in the future. She had like 2 minutes. So we'll come up with better thumbnails for Jess and Jessica's movie review. Kane, I was just about to say that I was leaving for the night. This was an amazing stream. Take care, everyone. Have a great night. Thank you, Kane. I appreciate the fact that you were here. I appreciate all the people that watch this on the odd time, but Sunday night at 8 is actually a really good time for me if it works out for you.
Oh, good.
Or we could make it 7, maybe.
I was going to say 7, I would really thrive, I feel.
Okay. Yeah.
That
Okay.
great.
7 sounds better. Yeah. It's that, which is fine with me. Jake, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
I heard the coffee table is not to be seen.
Oh, interesting.
Somebody just told me in the I feel like I saw in the chat that we shouldn't see the coffee table. See that I have certain things that I just can't see. I don't know. I'll look up the coffee table and find out what it's about. This is about as far as I can go. Barbarian and Longlegs. Otherwise, I want the occult stuff, like Devil's Backbone, super scary, ghosty things. So.
Yeah, I'm eager to hear your witch review, just because there is some bloody stuff in there, but it is more occult, and that will help me know, like, your reaction to the movie will help me know where your line is. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like, as far as like blood. So yeah, I'll be curious when you get to it. Yeah.
Okay. Good. We can talk off air about that. Maybe we can do something with that and we can talk about it. Okay, good. This was awesome. Thank you everybody for watching, and appreciate everybody out there. Glad you all enjoyed it and you all had a lot of good opinions and takes and everything. That was awesome.
Stay spooky.
Stay spooky. And I will play us out with my theme song, Peace and Love.